An. The following chapters have no direct bearing on the main story but add the views of characters I wanted to delve into earlier. The first three will be told from Sabo's perspective. They will also be longer than the previous chapters. Words in italics will be Sabo's thoughts unless otherwise stated. There will be minor cursing. Enjoy. 1 week later, Sabo stood in the director's office. After several months of strategic planning and negotiations, the Revolutionary Army had set up a direct trade route and supply line between their forces and the Kingdom of Wano. Direct being the optimal word. It took a hefty workforce on the Army's side and months of hard labor. But finally, they had built an undersea tunnel system, linking one of Wano's ports, Pabu, to an undisclosed island in the North Blue under Ra control. Yet it would never have been possible without the support of the country's current shogun Lady Kazuki Hiyori, and also the goodwill of her brother Momonosuke and of her retainer, Foxfire, Kinemon, even though they'd only met Sabo a couple of times and only just knew each other by association. He was well aware he owed a lot of that goodwill to a certain idiot kid brother. Of course, with the world government's influence slowly creeping into their country, Lady Hiyori had to publicly denounce the Ra as terrorists, and all pirates as the kingdom's enemies, while covertly providing the Ra with resources in exchange for what little the Ra could spare, including intel and providing sufficient distractions to deter Navy investigations away from the country's underground activities. For the Ra's part, they helped a lot, dispersing rumors that the Kazuki and their allies had actually helped the notorious Mugiwara in bringing down its former dictatorship. From what he'd heard of her reputation and the little he'd seen of her when he was last in Wano, Sabo had found a lot of admiration for the clever but shrewd woman. She didn't trust easily, which he could respect, but once earned, it was worth its weight in gold. Thank you, Luffy. He thought again of his brother warmly. That one young man had already changed so many lives throughout the world. And little by little, it was waking up to the truth behind the world government's lies, and the possibility of a better world. That wasn't why Sabo was in that office. He was receiving a firm reminder of proper protocol, basically a scolding, just for making an unscheduled detour to a certain island near the Red Line. All for the sake of an unauthorized meeting with the Mugiwara, and its newest member. He had, of course, left a trail that only Hack and Koala could follow, and assumed full responsibility for delaying their own operations by pursuing him, as if they didn't love every second celebrating with the crew, or cuddling with that little ray of sunshine. The only thing he got wrong there as far as he was concerned was being fooled by that undercover CP0 agent and Ehime being taken on his watch, something he would continually beat himself up for. Dragon of course would have none of it, disciplining all three severely. Sabo was perhaps the better at hiding his aches and tiredness from the hours spent cleaning, filing reports and being test dummies for every security system check. But that mask of positive energy had its limits. With due respect, sir, as the ones who almost single-handedly took down Doflamingo's weapons empire and one of the Yonko, surely it would be in our best interests to coordinate our efforts more in line with the Mugiwara. We have the same enemies. What is stopping us officially working together towards bringing down the world government? That's my call to make chief of staff, and if and when I decide involving pirates in our operations serves our ultimate goals, I will contact them, by following protocol. The two men looked at each other, one standing, one sat at his desk, both silently fuming. Dragon continued at a normal volume. You will rendezvous with me and some of our most recent operatives in the conference room at 1300 hours to talk strategies for our upcoming operations in Arabasta Kingdom. That's all dismissed. Common sense told Sabo to leave it at that, and ready himself for his next mission. But he'd never been one to choose common sense over what his eyes and ears and his heart told him. And right now they told him something wasn't right with the director. It had been nearly a week since news had spread concerning the battle at the new Marineford base, resulting in multiple casualties, including Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp. And the rumors it had circulated, such as the Mugiwara's unprovoked assault on the base, and those concerning the supposed daughter of Mugiwara Luffy, which only a few members of the Ra knew were true. Even the ever-vigilant dragon had to feel something about it all, and bottling it up was only making the director grouchier than usual, if that's even possible. Sabo tried again to open communication, adopting a gentler tone. Sir, I do understand we're in a delicate situation right now with the world government's tactics becoming more aggressive. Just remember you're not alone in this, and it's okay to be not okay. You can talk to the guys here. And maybe it's time to try reaching out to Luffy. Tell him the whole truth about why you left and what you do here. Talk to him about your father's death. Get to know the man your son has become. Get to know your granddaughter, dismissed Chief of Staff. The director said with finality. A moment passed. Sabo acknowledged his cue to leave with a stiff and formal, "Sir," before turning around and walking to the door. It took all his mental discipline not to slam it behind him. I tried Luffy. Sabo knew the director was under pressure trying to take advantage of the current power vacuum in the new world. He also knew he owed Dragon a lot for saving his life and giving him a home and a purpose all those years ago, for which he was grateful. But Dragon didn't exactly make it easy for people to like him, quick as he was to shoot down anyone who even thought the words, emotional support. Who exactly was he helping with this, Heart of Stone, act? And punishing Sabo for wanting to take time out to see his brother and new sister and new niece. That was one thing, but punishing Koala and Hack too. How dare he, just because they took a few risks to secure the safety of their comrade, and for having a soft spot for babies, even if that is an alien concept to him. Koala, frankly, the man's tendency to regard people in general for their part in the bigger picture, and not for their own individual worth, including his own flesh and blood, reminded Sabo all too much of his own father. Still fuming, he decided he might as well make his way to his quarters while he wasn't being tortured with additional paperwork and prepare himself mentally for the upcoming meeting. He was glad he didn't meet anyone else on his walk down the corridor, with the sour mood he was in. Koala. His clenched left fist caught alight. Ah crap. Sabo panicked, waving his hand like a maniac until he regained control of his devil fruit power. Did Ace ever struggle to keep these flames under control, whenever he lost his cool? Then something else caught his eye. He was in front of a window overlooking one of the complex's training yards. Hack was there holding a punching bag. And Koala, pummeling the bag for all she was worth. But not in the training GI she usually sparred with the fish man in. Instead a deep red sports top and matching, form-fitting leggings that rose just above her ankles and bare feet. She looked hot, sweaty, and full of unspoken frustration. His gaze lingered on her a moment through the window. Then her gaze met his for a split second as she turned for what looked like a roundhouse kick. Suddenly anxious she might register any second that he was looking at her, he hastily turned his gaze back to the corridor ahead and continued his walk to his quarters. Koala. Sabo didn't know what he was getting so worked up about. He saw Koala virtually every day, in various items of clothing. Today was no different. So why, all of a sudden, did he feel not angry so much as heated? His hand caught fire again. Crap, 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 crap. Where stories live. Discover now.